All right, we've just finished looking at quartiles, which separate data into quarters, 25% lots. Deciles, now they're called D1, D2, D3, D4, all the way up to D9. There is no D10, because D10 would be at the very top of your data. You know how there was only Q1, Q2, Q3? Even though you're breaking it up into quarters, you don't have four indicators, because these are the separators of the deciles. You've only got 9 deciles. Separate the data into tenths. Deci means 1/10. So, for example, girls, D1 cuts off the lower 10% of scores. So you might have some numbers, and there'll be some numbers down here, but D1's there, it's not at 0. Do you get it? And if this is the very top of scores up here, if that's my top of scores, D9, for example, would be there, etc. Do you get it? D9's, notice there is no D10, all right? D9, it's like the Q3. It's not at the very top. All right? So, D1 cuts off the lowest 10% of scores, so you'd have 10% of scores here. D4, if it's, say, here, you'd have 4 sections before it, indicating 40% of your scores. It cuts off the lowest 40%. D9 cuts off the lowest 90% of scores. All right? Now, percentiles, they separate the data into hundreds or into 1%. You know how there's 100% is one whole? So it's even more precise. So you've got your quartiles, which just tells you, yeah, this is my top quarter, my bottom quarter, my middle quarter. You've got your deciles, which break it down even further into 10% lots, but we could even be more accurate with percentiles. That breaks it down to the nearest percent. P24, you'd have 24% of scores below it. P60, you'd have 60% of scores below it, 40% above it. P87, you'd have 87% below it, 13% of scores above it. Okay, so deciles and percentiles are only meaningful when analysing large sets of data. We've got a dot plot here. We're going to look at the first decile, the fifth decile, 70%, the 60%, and the 90%. Now, the 90%, the lower, which one's this called? So, all right, we'll just do one at a time. The first decile. What would you do first? Before you count your dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it that number of vehicles one? Yep, same question, 20 dots. Okay, break it up into how many parts if we're doing deciles? Into 10 parts. So each decile has 20 divided by 10, 2 dots, nice and easy. All right, let's go. The first decile. You go 1, 2, and you put a line. If you put your line at the end of a row, end of a column. So if I wrote out my data, I've got 2, 4. The number of 5 occurs 3 times. Do you get what I'm doing? The number 6 is twice. 7 occurs 5 times, etc. Now, my first 2 dots, that's my first decile there, D1. Can you see you need to average 4 and 5, which is? Great. So we average 4 and 5. The fifth decile, what's another name for the fifth decile? A nice, something you've, yeah, what's its special name? The median. Girls, the fifth decile is just the median, which is Q2 as well. Now it's got 3 names, which is, let's count 10 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's my median. Average of 7 and 7 is 7. That's my fifth decile. The value that cuts off the lowest 70% of scores. So the lowest 70% of scores. Yes, we want 14 dots. That's D5, D6, D7. 14 dots. Are we okay with that? Each decile's got 2 dots. If you want the 7th decile, yeah? Yeah, good. So, the 7th decile, you're looking for 7 times 2, which is 14 dots. And we've put our line there at 14 dots. That's D7. And what have we got? It's what? 8. The average of 8 and 8 is 8. So I'm just going to put that answer. I shouldn't have put this here. It's really in the way. Okay. The value that cuts off, oh, be careful, the top 60% of scores. Yeah. So the value that cuts off the top 60%, if you've got, oh, I need some room. Watch. Watch this. The top 60% would be here, 60%, 40% in the lower. Do you get that? If that's the top 60%. So we're looking for D4. Yep, 4 times 2 is 8. We're looking for, after 8 dots, we're going to put a line. Does that make sense? The top 60%. So let's look for D4. So we're actually looking for D4, which is 8 dots. I can do it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's there. Or I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's there. Okay, so D4 is also 7. And the 90th percentile. 2 dots from the bottom, from the back. It's 18 dots or 2 dots. No, it's 9. Because look, 1 dot, 2 dots, and my line is there. You got it? The average of 9 and 9. It's not at the top of the row. Yep. Are we okay with that, girls? The 90th percentile is, you're looking for the top 10%. You just count back 2 dots. 1, 2. And it's 9. Okay? All right, can I sort of move? Where do you want me to put this screen? Looking at question 6. The following information is based on population data for body mass index, which is BMI, of boys aged 16 years. It's saying that the first quartile is 18.8. What does that mean? That what percent of boys would have a BMI lower than 18.8? 25% have. 25% of boys have a BMI less than 18.8, and therefore what percent have a BMI greater than 18.8? 75. All right, if the first decile is 17.6, 10% of boys have a BMI. Do you want me to write this down? Less than, so this means 25% have BMI less than 18.8, comma, 75% have BMI greater than 18.8. I'll just write it out for the first few. If the first decile is 17.6, 10%, do I have to write the word have? Can I just write 10% BMI less than 17.6? What percent have a BMI greater than? Girls, 90. 90% BMI greater than 17.6. And 9th decile, be careful. Yes, because that's 90% lower half, 10% upper half. 90% BMI less than 25.4, 10% BMI greater than 25.4, etc. So, once you interpret it that way, the question should be very easy to answer. So that is the median. I'm just going to put it here that it's the median. But 50% BMI less than that value, 20.6, 50% BMI greater than 20.6, and what about the last one? 97th percentile. All good? 97% BMI less than 29.4, 3% have a BMI greater than 29.4. That's how you interpret it. Now, I now want you to answer the questions. Median BMI for boys his age, what is it? Well, the median's the 50th percentile. His BMI is 20.6. Michael has a BMI of 18.8. Is this high or low for his age? 0.8 is not high for his age. The answer is no. The percentage of boys aged 16 that have a lower BMI is 25%. Now, 10% of boys aged 16 have a higher BMI than Harley. That must be the 90th percentile. 25.4. Adrian has a BMI of 29.4. Is this high for his age? Yes. That's the 97th percentile. How many boys have a higher BMI than him? It's 3%. And what percentile is a BMI of 17.6? It's the first decile, which is 10%.